Hi class, how you guys doing? Okay, I want to show you guys how to do this assignment 2-2 page composition activity in Illustrator. Basically what we're doing in this assignment here is we're going to create an Illustrator file, 3 layers, a background layer with a solid color, a second layer with the vector drawing of the logo that we find in the Amethyst Bay style guide, and then a third layer with the imported masked image. And that was the image from assignment 2-1, the masked image assignment. Okay, so and that was this, remember this lizard that I had demonstrated. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the first thing I want to do is let's just go back over to the rubric and we'll say, all right, so we need to have a 3-layer Illustrator file. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just jump over into Illustrator. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click Illustrator, and this dialog box opens. It's create new. Illustrator gives you two choices, either to create a new file or to open an existing file. Now I want you to note that if you're already in Illustrator, you can get to this page from saying File, New. Okay. Now when you say Create New, you'll get this new page dialog box, which is going to take a second here. I'm sorry, my computer's a little sluggish today, but what you want to do is you want to create that, click that create new dialog box, and then this document, this new document dialog box opens. I want you to bring your attention to the right side of the screen here. This is where you set up your file. Now we want 8.5 by 11, right? Now in design, the width is always given first. So the width is going to be 8.5, the height is going to be 11. So right here, whoops, sorry about that. We come in here and we say 8.5 inches for the width, 11 inches for the height. Now right down here, this is called bleed. I've got this set, this bleed setting at 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to leave that alone, and I'll explain what a bleed is in 1 second. But before I do that, I just want to set up the other layers in the file. So I'm just going to go ahead and say create, and here's our Illustrator file, right? This is that bleed line I was talking about. Okay, so we have the Illustrator file. We go back to the rubric. We see we need 3 layers, a background layer filled with a solid color, second layer containing the vector drawing, and a third layer with the masked image. So let's go ahead and create those layers. All right, so the first layer, that's layer 1. I'm going to click on that layer right there because we want to change the name. Double click on that, and I'm going to call that background color layer. Okay, there's our background color layer. Now I'm going to create another layer. And this one we're going to call, the second layer is the vector drawing. So we'll call that the vector logo. So we'll call that logo. And then we're going to create a third layer, and that third layer is the masked image. All right, so we're good. All right, we're set up and ready for success. Now we'll go back to the first layer. Select the first layer, that's that background color layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select a color. Now I'll come down here to my color picker. Right down here, it's got my fill and my stroke colors. So I don't want a stroke at this point. I just want a fill. So in order to do that, I'm just going to come down to those color pickers right there, and I'm going to say that's the stroke. I don't want a stroke. The fill, I'm going to double click that to get to the color picker, and let's just go ahead and pick a color. I wanted to get like a nice brown color in there. Say okay that. All right, so we've got brown set as our foreground color and no stroke color. So I'm just going to, at this point, I'm going to back down a little bit, and I'm going to come to my rectangular tool. In that rectangular tool, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to draw a rectangle, not the page size, but the bleed size. So I'm going to come to where that intersection is of those red lines for the bleed, and I'm going to drag that all the way down to the bottom, and you can see that color now overhangs on the side of the page. Why does it do that? That's called a bleed, and what that does is that makes sure that the ink prints all the way to the edge of the page and then some, so that when the printer comes in to trim this, there's no white spot right there. So if there's a mistrim, there would be a little white sliver of paper. We don't want that. So to ensure against that, we just drag the ink outside the actual page size itself. So then when it does get trimmed to the page size, there's going to be no white sliver. Okay, that makes sense? All right, so there is our first layer. Background layer, there it is with the color. All right, second layer, I'm going to click on the logo layer. Now in the second layer, we go back to the rubric and we see the second layer is a vector drawing of the client logo from the Amethyst Base Style Guide. So where is the Amethyst Base Style Guide, guys? It's in the Final Project Part 1 Guidelines and Rubric. Okay, so once you open that, you can see this little link right here is the Amethyst Base Style Guide. Now that's a PDF file, guys. So when you download that, it's gonna download as a PDF. As we know, we can't really extract anything out of a PDF file. So what you can do is you can take that PDF Amethyst Base Style Guide and open it right in Illustrator. Yes, indeed, you can open a PDF right in Illustrator. So once you open it, you just go to File, Open, and navigate to it, or drag it and drop it right into Illustrator, and you can open it up. I've got it open. Let me see. I've got this open already as an Illustrator file, and I saved it as an Illustrator file. So here it is right here. As you can see, this has opened in Illustrator, so the PDF was opened right in Illustrator. Of course, it looks a little bit different. And guess what? Right up here, those are those bleeds I was just talking about. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so as you can see, now this is open in Illustrator. These are all grouped and ready for you to select and to use. So if I just come to my Select tool in Illustrator, I can come over and select any one of these and see how they're all grouped and everything. So you just select the logo you want, and you can place it right in the file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to select that logo right there. Just click it. The whole thing's selected. I'm going to say Command-C for copy. That's Control-C on a PC. I'm going to go back to my file. There's my file. Make sure I'm on the logo layer, guys. Click that logo layer. And I'm going to say Command-V, Control-V on a PC, to paste. All right, there it is. Comes in beautifully, right? Now at this point, I want you to notice if you want to resize this, you have to hold the Shift key. That will constrain the proportions of the logo. See what I'm saying? If you don't hold the Shift key, you could theoretically distort the logo, and you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to reduce the size of that logo just a little bit, and we'll place it right down there in the corner. Okay, now we've got 2 of the 3 layers complete. We've got the background layer with the bleed. We've got the logo layer. Okay, now we're just going to bring in that masked image from assignment 2-1, right? And here's the logo. See, a third layer with 1 of the 2 imported masked images from the image processing activity. So what I need to do at this point is we'll go, now do you remember this file? This is the one where I selected and masked that lizard, okay? I demonstrated that. Well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just bring my layers panel right here. There's the masked image, see, there's the background, okay? So what I want to do at this point is this. Now I want to make sure of a couple things. I want to make sure I don't have any duplicate layers here. If I have a duplicated background layer, this might come in with a white background. So make sure when you drag and drop or place this, you only have this and whatever adjustment layer. So, you know, theoretically we could come in here and create some adjustment layers. Let's do a quick color balance layer, and here's our properties. So we'll just change the color a little bit, make that guy a little more brown, add a little yellow. Okay, and there's our adjustment layer for assignment 2-1, right? So that's cool. Everything is ready to go. Now at this point, what I can do is this, is I can take this image right here. Yes, so then, yes, in the third layer, I want to place that lizard image, right? So now I've saved that lizard image. Now I've saved it out to my desktop. I've got the selection saved, I've got the background masked out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to place that image in the third layer. So while I'm in my file here, I'm going to make sure I click that masked image, all right? Then I'm going to go to File, the word File across the top menu, and I'm going to say Place. When I say File Place, I'm going to navigate to the lizard, and that masked lizard image, or your masked image from assignment 2-1, I'm going to place it. So I'll select that, and we'll say Place. And we come and see the cursor is loaded up. You can see a little thumbnail of the lizard. So I'm just going to click, okay, and there's the lizard, right? So I just want to mention at this point, now again, if you want to resize the lizard, you will have to hold that shift key down. Otherwise, as I said, that lizard could become distorted, and we don't want that. So when I place that lizard in the file now, if I want you to notice that also right over here in that bleed, since I want that lizard to come off the side of the page, so I'm going to pull that. Okay, so I want him to be included right there. So I'm going to pull him all the way to the bleed line. Okay, we'll click that. Now, at this point, I want you, this is very, very, very important. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that image is embedded in the file. Otherwise, your viewer won't be able to see it. In Illustrator, you either need to embed the file, the image, or include it, or link it and include a folder to the recipient so that the linked file is your computer, the recipient's computer will find that image located in the file that you've included, that linked file that you've included in a folder. Now, we can circumvent all that by just simply embedding the image in the file. So we're going to do that. Now, what we want to do here is at this point, we just want to come over, go to Window, Links. Okay, open that Links dialog box. Again, that's Window, Links. Here's your dialog box. Now, here's that lizard, right? I'm going to click that layer. All right, I'm going to come right up here to this little menu, this little hamburger menu. So 3 lines. We're going to open that up, and I'm going to say Embed Images. Okay, and that, I'm just going to OK through that. Okay, and we can see this is the Embed Image icon right here. Okay, if you don't see that, you can also see it's embedded right here because right down here it says Embedded File. Okay, so at this point, we are done with this assignment. We've got 3 layers. We've got a background layer that's got color and pulled to the bleed. We've got the logo layer, and then we've got the masked image layer. Okay, and at this point, I would like to just to say that in a production workflow, in a real live setting where you're setting up a magazine ad, you might consider organization as part of your magazine ad. So for example, in this particular scenario, if this was my magazine ad, I would have my background color ad, or I would have, theoretically, I would have an images layer. Okay, and then I would have the logo would probably be on the images layer, or it could reside separately. So in that case, I would have an images layer, a logo layer. Then I would also have a text layer. So all my text is together on one layer. My logo is on one layer. My mask and all my images are on one layer. And those layers are all named for organization. Okay, guys, that's it. That's how you complete Assignment 2-2, including the vector logo from the PDF file and embedding the masked image from Assignment 2-1. All right, guys, any questions at all, please feel free to let me know. Thank you very much.